emotions, respect, with respect to learning. A primer on e-learning with respect to emotions. There it is in the article. And if I had 15 articles there, it would probably show me that same concept occurring in 2 or 3 other articles. And now I can compare across articles. How does this author on that subject compare with the other authors? So yes, I do not read. The 0 is the center column. Don't read articles anymore. Let the interrogator read it for me, and then I just scroll down across these concepts in context of the article.
So you have to read it some way in order to make your department. Otherwise, you just plagiarize it off all by everybody there.
Well, no, if you just copy somebody's stuff and put it in a course without any sourcing, referencing it, yeah, that would be plagiarism. But if you read across 4 authors who have said this, that, and the other thing, you say, okay, I think the other thing is the more important thing. Joe Smith, and this is what I'm teaching.
Full article, but you are reading.
Yeah, that's
His point is reading, like in the sense that you're not absorbing it.
Okay.
Some mind work.
Okay. All right. In other words, I don't take a pile of paper with me on the airplane with yellow highlighter. I do the analysis, which is like coming back and scrolling through the yellow highlight. Now I scroll through the concepts. And I guarantee you, it's a lot faster, and the end product is a lot better. And I avoided this 100 hours right here. And I avoided a lot of that 100 hours right there. Now, if we did some really sophisticated research on this, these numbers may not hold up exactly, but that's the neighborhood of the kind of performance I'm sure you're going to get. Now, why do we have these tools? Because we want you to go in and use these tools in the knowledge base, do your research in KM, leave behind the kinds of stuff you're creating, satisfy your own requirements, but begin to build this body of knowledge. If we're going to be a profession, we have to build a body of knowledge now, not 10 or 20 years from now. Project Management Institute took 30 years to build their PMBOK. And Project Management is a book this thick. If you took a look at KM and tried to define the domains of KM, one of them would be project management. Project management is huge compared to most other disciplines. Compare it to project management, it's 30 or 40 times the size, and many of the disciplines are not nearly as well developed as project management is. So project management took 30 years to do this because they didn't have these kinds of tools. Knowledge management needs to do it in 5 years or so, maybe 10 at the max, by leveraging these kinds of tools. And so our objective at the KM Institute is to make these tools available to you freely. Go do your research, but leave what you uncover behind for the rest of us to build a body of knowledge.
The problem is it's a paradigm change for like your industry or your corporation as you work with. This is great for me to go to your site and use.
For KM research, not to go to site to do your
users to work smartly. Using such a tool would be a chore.
Oh, you mean somebody in your own company?
Right.
Yeah, that's a culture change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And if you're in a government agency and the government says, I'm paying for those 300 hours anyway, what's the difference? There's no savings to me. Your salary is being paid. I didn't mean to say that. Nobody was recording that, were they? Yes.
I find this really exciting, number one. Number two, it reminds me of a conversation I had with a vice president from IBM who was in charge of all of training in Europe. And he said, when he was dealing with managers, the one training that really brought consistent increased productivity was speed reading.
Speed reading. Now we don't have to worry about it. Well, good testimony on that one.
At a certain level, that concept's not all that new, because I remember back in college, I thought the greatest invention was Cliff Notes. And so if you're having trouble tying it into somebody, you know, if they're uncomfortable with technology, get them to associate it with something and
that they can relate to.
Be somebody you can connect with. Just explain, this is Cliff Notes on steroids.
Very good. Yeah, I was going to say Cliff Notes on steroids. Right, exactly. All right. I'm well over my time. We had 15 minutes for questions and answers, and I've used 12 of them. So that's called text analytics, and we just did take a quick look. I think that's where I'll wrap up. T-shirts. Okay. We usually, in the chapter, give out a couple of T-shirts for people who listened attentively to the presentation. Notes. 40% increase in your retention and understanding if you take notes. Very good.
Put mine on your bio.
That's what I was going to ask. Boy, you fantastic. Anticipated the question. Pardon? No, he had the answer before I even asked it. I mean, how can you not reward that?
I put all the notes on your bio.
But that counts for a little something. Okay. What's a good question? Oh.
One that's thought-provoking.
Yes.
Is that the correct answer?
Very good. You're halfway there. All right. Eric, can you think of a good question? Brandon, can you think of it? Denise, can you think of a good question to ask? I totally forgot about this, but performance support would have been one of them. All right. Of all the disciplines, what's the difference between most people practicing knowledge management today and what it's going to take for success? There might be a couple. Well, definitely a body of knowledge would be very important. But what I was emphasizing earlier on, as I was leading up to this, I was saying. Okay.
Change management.
He beat you by a fraction of a second. Change management. If I was going to leave any pearls with you, knowledge managers have not paid enough attention to change management. It's well documented. There's books, there are articles, and you don't need to have 100 of them. You don't even need to use this technology we've been talking about. Send me an email, and I'll send you a couple of 2-page articles that'll just absolutely change your mind about change management. It's very straightforward. It's proven. Here's the 8 things you absolutely, positively, no questions asked, better do. And most of us don't do any of them. And they're well documented. They've been there for a long time. Knowledge managers have not turned our attention to change management. We need to. We want this profession to be a profession. And the only way it's going to be a profession is get across that trough of disillusionment. And the only thing that's going to get us across the trough of disillusionment is proper execution of knowledge management. So I leave that pearl with you. And we have a minute for questions.
Well, you said one thing as far as simple things that you can do, and you said how to handle your stack of stuff and do the stuff that takes the least time.
Yeah, shortest processing time is the term, SPT.
I think that also goes forward with your CAM initiatives. In other words, there's a lot of things that you can do. There's low-hanging fruit.
Yes,
There's a
quick
lot of
wins.
things that you can do with short little processing
Yes.
time.
Absolutely.
KM.
Absolutely, and that's what we in class talk about. In fact, we do an exercise, and one class came up with 81 little teeny initiatives you can do that cost nothing, all of which are a positive impact on the culture of the organization and can get results. So results, results, results. Don't just do something for the sake of doing it. Do something with the objective in mind. That's going to show some of the results, and then you want to brand all that stuff as new knowledge age kinds of things. Right. And your likelihood of success will be much greater than the guy down the street not doing those kinds of things. I can't guarantee 100% because every environment's different, and some environments will be totally opposed to anything you do. Well, my suggestion then is go find one that isn't and start practicing. But I think if you do it the right way, your likelihood of success is much greater. We'll catch up to BPR. And that right now, BPR is in the above the median in popularity, and it's now gotten to the point where its success rate is above the median. KM, remember, is median popularity, but more than a standard deviation below the norm in terms of success. We've got to continue to improve our, I shouldn't even say it in the sense of continue to improve. It doesn't sound like we've been improving at all. We've got to turn that trough of disillusionment around and strive for success.
Before we do more Q&A,
yeah.
just in case folks leave early. Last promotion for the EGO KM conference.
Oh, yes.
There's some brochures over there on the table. Members get 25% off